Hi folks, this is Kalim Rauf from IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Terminator lab. This is the video number 20. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have completed our file server migration using a tool called server migration tool, and it was successfully. This was the practical side of the migration. As for the theoretical side, we have discussed this in another video. We have discussed the plan of migration, the scripts that will be used in the migration, and everything was explained thoroughly, and the previous video was the implementation of the theoretical explanation. Okay, so we have now completely migrated our file server. So if we go to our graph, now we have uh, three roles, or we have two roles migrated. We have the file server and the DHCP. So if we can clear this now, we have on this server, or this server has now the WSUS, and it is an additional domain controller. We need to migrate the WSUS from here to there, so we have only the additional domain controller role on this server, and in upcoming videos we will have another additional domain controller, but with an updated version, or with a latest operating system, Windows Server 2022 data center. We will have our additional domain controller with this operating system, and then we will demote the additional domain controller which is on an older version, which is Windows Server 2012 R2. So this video, we need to migrate the WSUS server from here to there. Actually, this migration will be a little bit different. We will not migrate it in technical terms. What we will do, we will create a WSUS, or we will install the WSUS feature on this server. Okay, this is the first step. And then we will tell this WSUS to be a replica or a copy from the old server. Why? Or the old WSUS server. Why we are doing this? So that the configuration of the old server is replicated or copied to the new server. All of the computer groups, all of the workstations and servers that has already reported for the WSUS, all of the updates that are approved. So all of the configuration of the old WSUS will be replicated to the new WSUS server, because this WSUS server is a replica. Okay, so after doing this, or after a successful replication of the configuration between the two WSUS servers, we will modify our group policies to point to the WSUS replica. So all of the servers and workstations will now take their updates from the replica server. Okay, this is the second step. And then what we will do, we will change this server from a replica to be a standalone, or to be a real WSUS server, or to be a standalone WSUS server. It will not be a replica from the old one. Okay, so this is the third step. And then we will demote the old WSUS server. So we have 4 steps to do. The first thing, we need to install the WSUS server on the new server, and then we should make it as a replica, and then we replicate the configuration between the two servers. We will sync, okay, or make syncing between the two servers, and then after finishing this syncing, we need to modify our group policies to point to the new WSUS server to get, or the replica WSUS server to get their updates. Okay, and then after completely or successfully implementing the group policies, or modifying the group policies to point to this new server, and we are sure that all of the servers are taking their updates from this server and the workstations. Now we can change the role of replica to be a replica server, to be a new WSUS server, or to be a separate WSUS server. Okay, and then we will demote the old WSUS server. So these are basically the steps, or theoretically what we will do. So we need to do all of this and see how it is implemented. So this is very simple way of migrating the WSUS. Instead of copying and doing a lot of steps, this is a very simple step to migrate the WSUS. Okay, so can you hold with a minute with me, guys? Just wait for a moment. So let's continue, guys. Now, as we said before, the migration process is very simple. We need to now go and see this practically. So let's go to our video and begin the process. But before that, uh, when you try to install the WSUS role on the new server, I have encountered a problem. I will show you all what is this problem and what was the solution for it. So let's go first and see what is the problem. Okay, when you or a problem that arises before, because I didn't record it, but the error that will happen, let me show you all what is the error. If you try to install the WSUS role feature with a Windows internal database, we all know that the WSUS will have a database to store all of its reports and all of its data in it. So you have two options: to use Windows internal database option or to use SQL database option. Most of us will use the Windows internal database because this is much more easier for installation. Okay, but if you choose this option, you will encounter an error. You will see that you'll get this error. The schema version of the database is from a newer version of WSUS than currently installed. You must either batch your WSUS server to at least that version or drop the database. So he's saying here that the Windows internal database version is newer than the WSUS version itself or the WSUS application itself. I have already batched the server completely to the latest update, but this error still appears. So the problem was solved by a PowerShell script that will change or it will deceive the operating system or the Windows server uh, to deceive it, to make it feel that the WSUS is its version is currently the same as the version of the Windows internal database. Okay, so this is the script. We will change something in a file that in it the version of the database. So what we will do, we will go to this file and change the database or the Windows internal database version to match the WSUS version. Okay, so you are playing with the Windows internal database version to match the WSUS. Okay, so this is basically what we will do, and this is the script. There is a file in C program files update services database version check .sql or .sql. We will play in this file. Okay, and before playing in it, we need to have a user that have the permissions to play with this file. So what we will do, we will take the ownership of the file. So this is my domain admin account. It will take the ownership of the file, and then we will change the version of the database of the Windows internal database from 11 to 51. This will make the installation of the WSUS complete. If you not do this, you will encounter this error. Okay, so this error is very famous. Most of or I have seen a video that one of my colleagues say that it is better to install the WSUS with SQL database version or SQL version, or to have it with SQL, not to have it with Windows internal database. So again, if you try to set up the WSUS with the option of Windows internal database, you will encounter this error. The only solution to solve this is to deceive or to make the operating system feel that the Windows internal database version and the WSUS version is the same. Okay, so this is the script, and I will show you all how we can use it. So let's go and continue or see how we can do the installation of the WSUS. So here is our server. This is our new server. We will tell him add roles and features, and tell him next. Next. It will take some time. So this is the server. Just a moment, guys. So let's continue, guys. Here we will continue the process of the installation of the WSUS feature. So here we can see this is Windows Server Update Service. And tell him add features. Next. Okay, and then we will tell him next again. Next. Here we will choose the with connectivity. If we go further, again, let me show you all where is the problem arises. Okay, if you tell him next, we tell him next again, next, next. So here we can see that here is the option of with connectivity. Install the database used by WSUS into with. So this is Windows internal database. It's have some limited feature, of course, compared to SQL. Okay, the size and a lot of things. But actually, this is very easy to set up and install. So this is better. Okay, or this is the default option for most of us. So when you use these two options with each other, you will encounter the error that I have seen, or what I have told you, or what I have shown you. If you go there and see, if you use these two options, when you go to try to configure the WSUS after installing the service, you will get this error. Okay, he will tell you that the schema version so and so. So can you hold 1 minute, guys? Just wait for a moment. So let's continue, guys. As I said before, this will be the case if you are using these two options. So you can solve this problem from the start or from the beginning if you use the SQL Server connectivity, but you need to have a SQL database. Okay, so this is the problem. Let's continue. Now we are choosing the location where we will save our WSUS updates. I have created a folder in the partition called WSUS, and then next. And then this is the web server, because our WSUS is working, or clients will connect to it like you are accessing a web server. Okay, so WSUS is built on a web server. Okay, so now here is the problem. When you try to tell him to launch post installation tasks, you will get this error. Okay, so here we are trying to fix this. So what we will do, we will leave this, or we will leave the installation as it is at this phase, and then use our script. We will go and use our script, this script, to solve the problem. Okay, so this is one thing you need to do. Okay, so let me show you all how we can solve this problem. Let me go further. So this is the click version, this is the version. Okay, this is, let me show you all. Okay, no, I need to go and tell you how we can work with this file. Okay, so what we will do, just wait for a moment. This is the script. Okay, we need to run it. Okay, just wait for a moment. We need to run the script. Okay, this will take the ownership of the file, version check. Okay, so this is what we will do. We will go and run this script to take the ownership of the version check. This checks the two versions of the WSUS and the Windows internal database. So we need to take ownership and change some content in this file to make the Windows think that these two versions are compatible. Okay, so now we run the two things. Okay, so we run the two the 2 or 3 lines. Now we can go and check to see if the file or the setting will changes. We need to change the SQL version, or the version, or the version check from 11 to 51. Let me show you all. So we go to C, Windows Updates, okay, and go to Database, okay, and go to Version Check, and tell him edit. You need to make sure to change it to 51. So this was 11, and by the script it is changed to 51. And after that, we need to make sure that to change the ownership of this file from my domain admin account to something called trusted installer. If you cannot do this, then change it to everyone. If you try to tell him trust installer, you will not find it. Okay, so you can change it to everyone. Okay, so this is one thing. So for example, trusted or trust installer is not there. If you go further, so you will not find it. So I tried everything. So at the end, you can change it to everyone. Okay, we can do this. So first we need to take the ownership to return it to everyone. Okay, so we tell him advance or security and advance, and then change. Yes, here you can change it to everyone. So this is good. Now we can continue our installation. If you try to go now and tell him to launch post installation, okay, now we can see this is the trusted installer. This was originally the owner of the version check .sql file. Okay, we didn't succeed to return the ownership to him again, so we change it to everyone. This is very simple. We tell him everyone. I tried to see if it is there. Still, I didn't succeed. Okay, so try to see if this is a service account, but at the end, I didn't succeed. So we will leave it with everyone. This steps was from a forum I found to solve this problem. Okay, as I said before, we will not face this problem if you have the WSUS database working with SQL. Okay, so now if you go and try to complete the installation or to launch the post installation, so let me go again here. Let me go again and show you all the steps. Okay, so or the text file that contains the solution. First of all, we will close this one. If you go there and open this one, here is the steps. Okay, so here is the steps to solve the problem. Okay, go to this and change the ownership. Okay, and change it from 11 to 51. Okay, but this is not appearing. And restore ownership. If can't, then make everyone the owner. Run post install configuration. So if you do all of this now, you can run the post installation configuration for the WSUS. Let's see if this will solve the problem. So now tell him launch post installation task. It will take a little bit of time. So it will take a little bit of time. We can go further and wait. So if you go further again, it is wait, and then now configuration successfully completed. So now we can open the WSUS and begin the initial configuration. Okay, we need to tell it to be a replica from the old server. So now we will open WSUS server update console and begin the initial configuration. Okay, first of all, we will tell him to be a replica so it can replicate all of the configuration from the old WSUS server. It will take a little bit of time, so if you can go further. Okay, console. Okay, again. So here we can see, just wait for a moment. Okay, we will pause a little bit. Okay, now we can open the console and then we'll begin the configuration, initial configuration. This is the Microsoft Improvement Program. We don't need to. Then here we go. This is the option to sync from another Windows Server update service. This will get him to be a replica. We need to tell him the old WSUS server name and choose this option. This is a replica of the upstream server. A replica mirrors update approvals, setting, computers and groups from its parent. Updates can be approved only on the upstream server. So we will approve the updates on the original WSUS server and it will be replicated to the replica server. You cannot approve updates on the replica server. Anyway, this will not be the case, but we need to replicate all of the configuration or replicate all of these things to the new WSUS server. Okay, so we'll put the full WSUS server name or the full domain name. Okay, sknhq dc 0212.skynet.internal, and then tell him this is a replica of the upstream server. Okay, options are disabled because this server is a replica server. Next, then start connection or start connecting. This will initialize the connection between the two servers. Okay, it will take a little bit of time. So this will take some time. Okay, so now the initial syncing is done. We need to make a full syncing. This is an initial syncing. Okay, we need to tell him next. Okay, and then this is we will not do any of these things because actually it's already there. We have it the updates in English. It will get the updates and classification from the old WSUS server, and then you tell him to think. Here you will sync automatically with the WSUS or the old WSUS server. This is not syncing with the Microsoft website. It is syncing with the old WSUS server. Okay, so it will sync one time at 12 a.m. Okay, next, and then we will begin the initial, or we will initialize a syncing between the two servers. Okay, we need to do this so we can replicate all of the data or all of the setting between the two servers. Okay, so as we can see here, this is the server. By the way, the WSUS server needs a lot of RAM, so you need to make sure that you have enough RAM because most of the processes are RAM consuming. Okay, so you need to make sure of that. Okay, so we can go further. So now this is the console. What I'm doing here, let me see because I do not remember if we okay, now here what I'm doing here, I'm trying to I have remember that when I was making the old WSUS server, we have done it using a script. So I am using a part of the script of the WSUS script to set the WSUS app pool. Remember the WSUS app pool section. Please refer to my WSUS installation video. Okay, we all know that the WSUS app pool is very critical to make it or to give it enough RAM so your WSUS will not crash. So you need to do this. First of all, here is the script. Okay, and we let me open it. This is the WSUS script. What we will do, we need to go to the part related to the WSUS app pool. So the WSUS app pool is very critical to give it enough RAM so your WSUS will work properly and it will not crash and all of the clients can communicate with this. We have done this before. So when we were creating the old WSUS server, we have used this script, okay, wsus.ps1. So now I am telling him to increase the WSUS app pool private memory to 2 gigabytes. Actually, this is a problem because the server as a whole has 2 gigabytes of RAM. So we need to extend the RAM of the virtual machine. Okay, so this is one thing. So after doing this, we have two servers. One is the replica server. And the other is the parent WSUS server. Now we can see that all of the WSUS app pool stated are started. Now we can modify, or we can tell, or we can modify the WSUS group policies to point to this replica server to get their updates from. Okay, this is preparing ourselves after that to remove the old WSUS server. If we go further, let me show you all here. Here, by the way, you need to make sure there is two services that should be running if you have your WSUS installed. WSUS web server service and the Windows internal database service. These two services should be running to make sure that your WSUS is operational. Okay, so let me show you all these two. If you go to services, okay, go to the services here. You need to make sure if there is any problem or your WSUS is not working, you need to make sure and check the services. Okay, I think this is I will do in the next video, but okay, we can go further. Okay, here it is. You will see here that still the configuration uh, is not replicated yet because we need to initialize a syncing. Okay, we need to go there and to initialize a syncing. This is very critical. Okay, so you need to go to the WSOS here and tell him to sync. Okay, this is sync now, so it will sync its configuration with the old WSOS server. Okay, so this should be done and it will take some time. Okay, and this will be in the upcoming video, or sorry, I will show you the other video now because I have it in two videos. So we need to go and open the second video, which is video number 12. Okay, and here it goes. Okay, so we will open that back. Can you wait for a moment, guys? Please just wait for a moment. So let's continue, guys. Here we will go continue what we have started. So this is our currently WSOS replica. So here I will log in with the domain admin account. Okay, we'll log in, and then we need to open the WSOS replica. Okay, but before that we need to make sure that the WSOS Windows or Windows internal database and the WSOS service is running. You need to make sure of that before uh, opening the WSOS console. This is very critical because if these two services are not running, then you will not be able to access the WSOS console and the WSOS service is down. Okay, so you need to do this. So let's open. Okay, let's go further. Okay, here you go again. So this is the Windows internal database. This should be running. It runs automatically, but if it is not running, you need to let it run. Okay, and to make sure that the WSOS service is running. It is already running, so we need to initialize the Windows internal database service, because if it is not running, you will not be able to access the console and the WSOS as a whole will not work. Okay, so you need to make sure these two services is running. Okay, any problems, go to these two services and check if they are running or restart it if you need. Okay, so now this is the Windows, and by the way, I think this only happens to me in the virtual environment. In real environment, the Windows internal database runs up automatically. It didn't do this in practical life. Okay, in the virtual environment, this happens to me a lot. Okay, maybe because of the RAM of the virtual machine, it is not that much. So here what I'm doing here, I'm making sure I will connect to the services to the old WSOS server. So here I am checking both WSOS services on the old WSOS server and the new WSOS server. So now I can connect to the services, or I can see the services for the remote computer. I need to make sure, or the remote WSOS server, I need to make sure that they are running as well. Okay, so here if you go there, we can see that the Windows internal database for the old WSOS server is running and the WSOS service is running. So this is a very clever way or a simple way to check services for remote computers. Okay, now I'm telling him to go again to my service console on my current server. Okay, so now everything is running. We need now to open the WSOS and initialize. Okay, initialize. Let's see, initialize a sync. Okay, to sync, initialize syncing, so the configuration of the old server should be replicated to this server. If you go there, okay, and here go to this one. Let me show you all. Okay, no, I don't need all of this. Let's go further. Okay, so what we will do again, let's go further. We will open, okay, so we will open the Windows Update Services. Let me show you all. So here, what we can see here, after making sync now, I have already done the syncing. You need to manage to sync now. After syncing, what we will see different thing. We will see that all of our old WSUS server configuration is there. So we can see these are the computers, okay, and all of the things. And if you go to products and classifications, you will see that it is already done, or all of the configuration is done. Now what we need to do, we need to tell him not, this server will not be a replica, it will be a separate WSUS server. So we need to do this after the configuration of the old server is synced. Okay, so we need to do this. First of all, we will change this, okay, and tell him sync, okay, from Microsoft Update. So now it is a complete separate WSUS server. Okay, and then we need to, what we need to do, we need to tweak our group policies or the WSUS group policies, to let the servers and workstation get their updates from this server. Okay, so we'll do this by a group policy. Okay, so let me show you all how this is done. This is done using a PowerShell script. Let me show you all. If you go further again, let me show you all. So here is what we will do. Okay, here, just a moment, let me show you all something here. So this is a WSUS backup, or this is the WSUS group policies, and this is the WSUS script. Here there is a line. I'll tell him to import this modified WSUS group policies. In it, it contains the new WSUS website. Okay, so let me show you all, after importing this group policies, what will happen. If you import these group policies, we will see, okay, that the WSUS was changed from the old WSUS to the new WSUS. Let's go further. Okay, let's go there. Okay, so if you open the script, here you go. These are the three lines that will import the modified group policies from this backup folder. They are already modified to point to the new WSUS server. So I am running this script from the old WSUS server, which is currently also additional domain controller. Okay, so now I will run these three lines, and then we will go to our group policy management console and see if the WSUS group policy is modified and it is pointing to the new WSUS server. Let's go and see. So now it will take some time. Okay, so now it is already there, it is already modified, or it is already imported. If we go and check the WSUS, check the console, okay, the group policy management console. Before that, we need to make sure that the local group policy of this server, okay, is pointing to the new WSUS server. Because remember, I have modified the local group policy for this server to point to the old WSUS server. Okay, so we go there, okay, and change the local group policy to point to the new WSUS server. Okay, so there are two group policies modified, the Active Directory group policies and the local group policy. Remember, we have done this before. Please refer to my previous, or the video concerning the installation of the WSUS. So now I'm changing the name. Okay, and we will check also the Active Directory group policy and see if it is modified or not. Okay, so we'll copy it and paste it, apply and okay. And then if you open the console, you can go further. Okay, so here we will open the group policy management console and see the group policies. Okay, we have two group policies. If you go further, if you open, we will see we have something called WSUS policy. This is for the clients, and WSUS server, and this is the group policy for the servers. If we edit, or we go to the setting and see the configuration of it, we will see that now it is pointing to the new WSUS server. If you go further, okay, if we go down, we will see it's now pointing to the new WSUS server. This is the new WSUS server. Okay, so we have successfully imported the new group policy that points to the new WSUS server. If you go to the servers, we will see also it's pointing to the new WSUS server. As for the default domain policy, again, it is also pointing to the new WSUS server. If you go further again, sorry guys, again, it's already there, so don't worry. So now, what we will do, we have already our group policies pointing to the new WSUS server. Now we need to remove the old WSUS server. We will remove the feature from this server. Okay, so we need to remove it completely. Now we have everything pointing to the new server. The configuration is already synced and copied. So now we don't need the old WSUS server. So now we tell him to remove the old WSUS server. So this is the last phase. Before that, we will take a snapshot before removing the WSUS server. So this will be the last phase before closing the process of the WSUS migration. So this is very, very simple. We have done it in this sequence, as said before in the beginning of the video. So we will take a snapshot and then remove the old WSUS server. And by this, we have completely moved all of our roles except that this server is currently an additional domain controller. We will also demote this server. We don't need it, or we don't need to have an additional domain controller with Windows Server 2012 R2 installed. We will have another additional domain controller, but with Windows Server 2022 data center. And you will demote this server. So we will do this. And then, of course, we will change the network setting for all of the servers to point to the new additional domain controller. Anyway, so now I'm taking a snapshot on the 3 servers. So we'll do this. I will take it on the primary domain controller and for the WSUS or the new WSUS server. So we'll take a snapshot just to make sure if the problem of removing, or if we will not succeed in removing the old WSUS, we can return back in this snapshot. So now, as we can see here, okay, still another or the last snapshot for the primary domain controller. I need to take snapshots so all of the servers are on the same status, or they are all synced to the same status, or they are all in the same environment. Okay, there is no changes, or the changes are saved between the 3 servers. Okay, so now we can go and remove the WSUS feature. We will remove it. Actually, we will remove the WSUS and the web server. And one problem here, should we remove the Windows internal database? It will be removed. Okay, so if you tell him next, now we need to remove the web IIS. Okay, we need to remove this one and remove the Windows update. Okay, so we remove the web server. Okay, because it is related to the WSUS. Okay, tell him next. Okay, next. And then you will see here there is also some consoles related to the WSUS. We need to remove Windows Update Service Tools. Here is the PowerShell tools or PowerShell commands for the Windows Server. Okay, so for the Windows Update Service. Tell him next. Here you can see that this is Windows internal database. Here I am suspecting that should I remove it or leave it, but actually I left it. But in the next window we will see that here we can see that, for example, he needs this database because he is using it for Windows System Resource Manager. Okay, so I cannot remove it because it is already currently used, even though the Windows Server Update Services is using it. So we will not remove it. Okay, we will let the installation wizard see if he can remove it or not. So we tell him next. If we go further, so now we can see here is saying that here he will remove the WSUS service and Windows Update or Windows Internal. He will remove them. Okay, I didn't choose it, but he will remove it. Okay, So maybe the Windows internal database are hosting two databases, one for the Windows System Resource Manager and the other for the WSUS. Anyway, so he will remove it, okay, and after that you need to make a restart, okay. So it will automatically, you can tell him to restart the server automatically. So now he is removing the WSUS, okay. Now restart is pending, okay. So you need to do this, you need to restart the server. So close and then restart the server, okay. So it is restarting, okay, and now we have only this server acting as an additional domain controller. DHCP was removed or was migrated, file server was migrated, WSUS was migrated, okay. So the last one or the upcoming video will create a new server, and we will join it to the domain and make it additional domain controller and then demote this additional domain controller, okay. So now I am again going to or logging in, okay, and to see if the WSUS is already removed or not. And we can see it is already removed, okay. We don't see anything, we have only additional, or we have only here the Active Directory. So now we have successfully removed the WSUS server, no trails for it, okay. So now we can shut down the machine. We will take a snapshot, okay, after WSUS. So we'll take a snapshot before all WSUS removal and after WSUS removal. This will be done on the three servers with the same sequence. So this concludes for our video, okay. Hope this video was informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.